long time we talked about finances when it got really bad, when we were really poor.
Create an emergency fund together, which is roughly for us 3 to 6 months of total expenses.
Hi guys, and welcome back to Mixed Realities TV. Today we're talking everything finances. We've been thinking about doing small little segments on our podcast about finances because it's a huge topic, and we usually don't see a lot of
specifically couples finances.
Couples finances, yeah. It's a huge topic, and we usually don't see young couples talking about it.
Yeah, and I feel like it's also like, a lot of people don't talk about it, and not just like the main thing we want to focus on is combining finances and like how to make that process smoothly, things that you need to look out for, plan for, because we combined finances slowly over time, and we'll kind of dive into that a little deeper. But I feel like for people who are just getting into relationships or in a relationship that's moving fast, it's actually harder than you think. And there's a lot of mistakes you could do, a lot of arguments you could avoid, maybe some, discussions you should have before doing so, and things along those lines that we kind of just did and learned on along the way.
Yeah, first of all, don't ever rush into a relationship and start combining finances like to a T unless you're sure with who you're with and what you're doing. Once you're sure, just don't be silly in love. You might also be silly in love. I think that's what we were, silly in love. But just make sure you have your head on straight. Don't just jump into sharing finance with someone, because it's a huge decision. And after that, your whole life will change. Yep. So to start, basically, we are going to be talking about how we have like transparency in finances, because at first, I don't feel like it was like that, like when we first started dating.
Well, even before that, we probably should talk about our backgrounds a little bit.
Yeah.
In the sense of that way, if you are coming from maybe a background that's more like mine or a background that's more like hers, you can kind of understand maybe some of the, I guess, the differences and kind of the hurdles that you have to overcome to get to the point of combining your finance with someone else. You want me to go first, kind of?
First of all, I said first of all already. Second of all, we are not financial advisors, and we are doing this for fun.
So don't take this as financial advice.
Fully honest, fully just sharing our lives, we said we wanted to do. So
take this as educational.
This is that.
This is not financial advice. This is just educational content that you can learn from our mistakes, some successes, and I guess going into my background a little bit. So I grew up luckily in a household where finances were talked about a lot. Business, entrepreneurship, and just kind of like financial literacy was talked about a lot. But I think one thing that wasn't talked about was relationship finances, which I feel like that's probably the one area where we didn't talk about at all with my family, combining finances with someone else. But I also, going into our relationship, I had a business, I worked for myself. And so that also adds like a little bit of a hiccup or a hurdle when combining finances, because you're also running a business. And so you not only, a lot of people, they have their, they have a job and then they have their personal finances. But when you own your own business and you have people working for you, you have your personal finances, but you also have your business finances, and you don't want to combine those along with also while you're combining, your relationship finances. So that's kind of a quick overview of my background.
Yeah.
I guess you could dive into yours a little bit too.
I guess for me, I grew up the complete opposite. So I never really talked about money with my family. It was never a thing. When I was growing up, didn't have people I thought highly of, like, in a business way around me 24/7. I had one person who kind of gave me advice whenever I would come and ask for it. But even like coming and ask for it and like admitting you need help at that stage in your life is pretty difficult to do, or you honestly just like don't know where to start, and it's like mouth vomit, word vomit. But the only time we talked about finances is when it got really bad, when we were really poor, and it was always just a struggle. Like money was just a struggle. I looked at it as a tool to get out of my struggles. There was no, you're gonna own a business one day, this is how you save for blah blah blah, this is how you buy your first car, first home. There was no teaching, no casual teaching, casual conversations, nothing like that. And casual conversations, I mean, like, you know, I could be sitting down with your dad and he could talk about something and it's like, ooh, light bulb. You know what I mean? Just because it's in you and you talk about it and you make it a normal, which also is what we plan to do with our kids, is make that a normal to be talked about all the time. Because it's very important that because money's a topic that some people don't want to talk about, but it's very important to be talked about all the time.
Especially when you're in a serious relationship, with you're like living together and things along those lines. I guess, where did you want to start to kind of, because I think it also throughout this, we want to highlight the progression of interlacing finances with your significant other, because it's not all like, oh, let's do it all at once, combine everything. And still to this point, we are not married, so we do not have everything 100% combined. And so in the beginning, I guess, what was the first area that you wanted to cover to make that way we could
just like being honest in finances, like when you first start dating.
Okay, yeah.
First of all, I feel like when you get to the point of, oh my gosh, like this is love, or like, oh, I maybe one day want to move in with them, or you already moved in with them. We moved fast. So when we first moved in together, honestly, finances like wasn't really on the top of my head.
Yeah,
if that sounds like crazy.
This is rent. Just pay me rent.
So when I first moved out of my apartment and moved into his, I was just paying rent to him for his
really
living
cheap,
space.
like $400.
So it was like, that was like the only thing that we ever really had to talk about. We would go out to eat together, go to stores together. So we kind of just played opposites. Like I was never the girl.
But that's kind of like where we kind of ran into our first problem, is we moved in so quickly. So we were sharing, you know, groceries, we're sharing, but like
going out to eat, not tracking.
And since I feel like we moved so quickly, I wrongfully kind of just always thought, like, I feel like in the beginning, I felt like I was like the man. It was like still dating. So I remember paying for a lot more, thinking that was like what I had to do.
And there was a time where we kind of were just, I remember being in your apartment and just being like, well, we don't have to do that. Like, we'll just start rotating and doing rotating.
We were still dating, so like every time we went to the grocery, like, you know what, I'll just pay for the groceries.
And then it's like you're dating like 5 days a week paying for shit. Yeah. It's like ridiculous. So then
all of a sudden I'm like realizing, like, wait, why is my
this going on?
Why am I spending so much more? It's because I was paying for, like, let's say like 70% of the groceries instead of 50-50.
And honestly, like in many relationships nowadays, honestly, that you see on the internet, women want the man to pay all the time. They want blah, blah, blah. This is a real relationship. We like 50-50 through and through. If we go to the grocery, or back in the day, now we have a fun, we'll get into that. But back in the day, if we go out to eat, it's your turn. Next day, it's my turn. You know what I mean? Like, that right there, get out of
that's kind of what it used to be.
But yeah, so like trying to get, like, you need to get out of that stage of he's gonna pay for everything if you're trying to like build the life together and you're not millionaires. Like, you know what I mean?
And I think a good transition to, before sharing an account, is just keeping track of, like, okay, you paid for this meal, I'll pay for the next one. You paid for these groceries, I'll pay for the next ones.
Yeah.
And honestly, keeping track of that, I feel like, is the first step on like combining finances, is sharing, not letting the man or the breadwinner, pay for majority of it. Actually being like, okay, you spent $45 on groceries. Next time we, I'll buy the equal amount of groceries, or if we go out to dinner, I'll pay for $45. Like, you have to keep track of that. And I feel like that's what we did before we opened up an account together.
So going down the timeline, I guess we eventually decided that we were going to move to Florida. when we were living in this apartment. That's honestly where we first started sharing a bank account. I think was in Florida. After we moved in,
we moved to Florida, and we felt like we started. Well, we first combined our phone bills. Mm-hmm. Because also that helped with like bringing the cost down of our phone bills
of the Wi-Fi,
and it was
things we're sharing.
It was all tied together with the Wi-Fi, so it actually saved us money by combining our phone bills and stuff like that. So that was the second step, is like combining phone bills, because then now we can go for like the two people on the line type of deal. And then of course splitting utilities. Putting her name on, I think it was like the water garbage or something like that, and then putting my name on the Wi-Fi and the electricity, and that's kind of the next phase, is like putting names on things that you share. Like, okay, my name is on the phone bill, your name is on the water, electricity. I don't know how your cities might, some people have a water, company that does water, and some people have electricity. Some have it all, a company that does all three. And so, then the next step is kind of like figuring out those bills. And I hate saying, because I feel like it's realistic and unrealistic at the same time to have a very, very detailed budget. Like, you should have a very detailed budget. But for us, realistically, and how busy we are, having just a kind of outline budget where we're like, okay, every month, electricity is roughly $200, and at least understanding there might be like a plus or minus 20 on that. I feel like first understanding those is the kind of the next phase into starting sharing your budget. But then moving on to what you were saying is getting a bank account together.
So getting the bank account together just kind of was a nice way to share without thinking you're doing all the work by yourself. If that makes sense, because you down to the T, like we're sharing like groceries, we got a dog, we're sharing dog food, all this stuff. So there needs to be a way for you to combine finances that you're not like rotating all the time. Like you shouldn't be, you have dinner on Tuesday, I have dinner on Thursday, and then dipping out of that account. It should be that account should be for things.
Or your card is attached to the water bill, my card's attached to the phone bill, and then. But you have to, honestly, I'd recommend doing that first before getting the bank account, so you can kind of start trusting each other with paying them, and trusting each other, building that like kind of financial trust. Like, of course you're dating, you have trust, but then you have to have that trust of like, okay, you'll handle those bills, I'll handle these, or your card's on my, and then after that is combining the finance to the bank account, where then you just figure out how much all those bills are together and be like, okay, let's just say it's all the bills combined are $1,500 a month. Let's make an agreement. We both put $750 in this account every month which will cover all the utilities and all those things and all the groceries. And that's kind of the next step, is kind of figuring out your full expenses of the month, including your food.
And then that also is just kind of the way you outline your life. Like, I feel like outlining your financial goals, getting a bank account together, like you're ready to start your life together. You should be at that point. You should not be doing that before you are. And then that also kind of,
and ideally you probably want to do that before you move in with the person, but we kind of moved in within 2 weeks.
We just kind of sent it. So. What they used to, we sent it. And look at us now. But what was I saying? Thinking about your finances with your partner makes you change your lifestyle with your partner. Once we got a hold of like, okay, we're in a house now in Jacksonville, there's no way we should be at Hooters 4 nights a week. We should be going to the grocery store, saving money.
We need a budget for that.
Or you budget for it if you're an eating out type of people, or budget for it. But if you have certain goals, that it just makes you be on top of your goals. Like, okay, we want to, obviously eating in is going to save you money. Do other things that may save you money. Make dates more organic. Like, we don't have to go eat for a date you do not have to eat for a date every single time you go out. Like, get real. But anyway, setting up, like, in order to set up mutual financial goals, I felt like we tripled over it for a while, and then we actually had to sit down and be like, okay, what is going on? In the sense of like setting up an emergency fund, making sure we need to set up an emergency fund.
And that's kind of what I guess the next step after getting your account together and whatnot, and making sure you both have the funds to pay off the bills. And now the next step is, okay, now let's create an emergency fund together, which is roughly for us 3 to 6 months of total expenses built together. So, for example, let's go back to if it's $1,500 if our monthly expenses are, which is definitely not. It's definitely more than that, but the math is pretty easier on that. 3 months of that is $4,500.
Yeah.
We round it up. I think, let's say if it is, we round up so to the nearest thousand, so ours would be $5,000. I think what we did is 4 or 5 months. I think because so for us, I think 4 or 5 month expenses is roughly $6,000 or $7,000. My math might be off. I think it's $6,000 for us because we averaged off all of our expenses. But so the next thing is having an emergency fund, and there's different types of accounts to have an emergency fund in.
Yeah.
And this is actually the step that we're in right now, in the sense of combining finances together, getting those emergency funds, but also investing together in a way where, okay, I know you're investing, you have automated, accounts set up where your money's automatically being put into certain investment accounts or certain funds. And what we just discovered was Wealthfront. I think it was called Wealthfront. Wealthfront. We're not sponsored by them, but they have a 5% interest account, which, so as long as you have your money in there, it's gaining 5% interest on it. And we just found this, and we set it up, and we will put a link to our referral link below. If you sign up with that referral link below, you get 5.5% interest instead of 5% for 3 months, and then also so do we. So, so you'll get that 5.5% interest. And honestly, the reason why I like it so far is because you have a main account, but you can make subcategories that automatically you can make it so emergency fund, a vacation fund, a fund, a gift fund. You can create all these categories where you can automate the amount of money that goes into the account for each category, and it automatically does it for you while also getting that interest. So that's kind of where we're at now, is like figuring out ways, because we're, like I said, we're not married, but we're preparing for that stage before it happens, which I think that's why we're making this video, is so even if you're not at that stage yet, you can be prepared for those stages before. But she just signed up for her Wealthfront account today, right? And and so I got the 5.5% interest, and so did she.
So that was good. I lost my track because I was thinking of signing up for Wealthfront and reading all the stuff. I mean,
I really hope they sponsor us one day, because that was
so easy to set up. I already know what to say if they sponsored. I'm kidding, but it was pretty easy to set up. Just go online, check it out, do that.
And it, like I said, so we calculated. We were just because we wanted to start off with a small amount in there, because when I open up a new bank account, I'm not going to put all my money in there at once. You got to trust the bank first. And so I was like, okay, $5,000 in there, that's a good test. And so just keeping $5,000 in there every month, and the interest payments are monthly. So that's $250 that I get every month. But if you just have $5,000 in there, of course you have more, you're going to put more in there. But that's almost 50-60% of our grocery. My percent of the actually, that's almost 100% of my percentage of the groceries a month. And so just by having my money in there, or any other account that has a high interest yielding account like that, you're literally having your money in there, and you're gaining money by just keeping your money in there. And then, like I said, those subcategories are because like another thing I think we should cover is budgeting for fun, budgeting for vacations. Like, Literally, we went on a cruise, and the cruise, I think, all in was around $1,500.
Yeah.
If we put $20 a week or $20 a week aside,
it's like 13 cruises. No,
no, not 13 cruises. But if we put $20 aside every week, it pays for that cruise every year. And,
yeah.
And so it's like, if you can automate that with like something like this, Acorn, Wealthfront, then you're literally just setting yourself up for financial security, but you're also setting yourself up to be able to live a happy life, but not be stressed about finances as well. Because I feel like people honestly, are so stressed, want to live a better life, but they're so...
One of the biggest reasons that you would be stressed about finances is because you don't think about them.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're just going through your life wheel by wheel, just not thinking. And so that's another thing.
And then they put it on a credit card. And
yeah, and just like not thinking about it. Like when me and Weston first got serious, I remember being like, this can be a hiccup. Because we're at two different financial places when we first started dating. And it's not like, I'm not the type of person that's like, okay, I'm going to go all in and be, everything's on Weston. Like, it's not happening that way. Or I don't feel safe or secure that way. So just trying to figure out a budget and a plan that works for both partners is key. And really just in that circling out everything you guys have together.
Yeah. And actually, I kind of want to go back on the fun and like the fun or the vacation fund or both, because you should budget for going out and having fun, like dates and whatnot, which that's what we're doing now. And that's the mistake that we did. We never put money aside for that. We just always like looked at our bank accounts and being like, okay, yeah, we could afford to go on a cruise. Oh,
you do not.
Oh yeah, we can. Yeah. Or yeah, I can afford to go out. And then next time I could go out and spend a couple $100, and then you spend $300, and you're like, oh shit, like I shouldn't have spent that much money. So instead, if you had like your funds all situated and checked out, then that's not gonna like extra $100 you spend, extra $50 which you didn't plan on spending, but you did. It's not that big a headache because you planned for it in the first place.
For it all, like when we first moved into this house, I don't think I bought plants until like months after, because it's like, okay, I'm gonna sacrifice my itch to go buy 20,000 plants off the shelf.
And that's another thing you could set in your Wealthfront, your plant fund.
Yeah, because they're expensive.
Even if you put in like $2 a week to a plant fund, and because you're not getting plants, the plants like every week. You're getting them like maybe once a month. So if you could put like $5 aside every week, that's $20 a month that you could spend on plants. Or if you don't spend any, that's $40 you spend next month. And, and I think the key is automating, automating these things and finding tools. And that's why we wanted to also have this, is because we just found out about Wealthfront. I've known about high interest accounts for myself, but like they're so much more powerful when you're doing it with someone else.
Yeah.
So
anyway, there's a few questions that I found, financial questions for couples. I figured we can just, since it's our intro of talking about finances, so
okay,
might as well.
We want to start doing these a little more because we also have businesses together. We have this podcast, we have the 3D printing Etsy store that we forgot to put the skulls in front of us. Oh wait, I'll go grab one right now.
We've been printing these skulls for Halloween. They're so cute, honestly, so cute, with or without candy. They're just, I don't know, weird, not even creepy, just a vibe. Yeah, so check him out if you want. He did a giveaway on the live, and this guy really liked them, so.
He hasn't gotten it yet.
Oh, but he liked them so much, like the image of it, and started asking how much it was, and if he, like, telling him what he was going to do to it. So I think it's pretty cool.
No, that was the guy that got the phone case, the phone stand. The guy with the phone stand, his name's Eric. He took the phone, because I honestly...
Oh, was it the hand?
No, it was slime. It was like a splash phone case.
I sent it, I don't even remember.
Well, it was in a box when you sent it, so you couldn't see it. But, yeah, and so, honestly, that giveaway, I ran out of PLA halfway through the print, and so it went from gold to black. And so he spray painted it blue, so it looked like a wave. But then I also gave him 2 just because that happened. So the first giveaway, the guy got 2 things.
I just realized there's sheep on your hat.
Yeah, I don't know whose hat this is.
I think it's mine.
But I'm going to put this right here, and hopefully we get a viral clip of me talking with this right in front of it, because this thing, I love these things. And then I'll make sure to put the red one down here too.
The red one, spicy.
I'll try shooting a solo this weekend, because what we're planning on doing, like I said, we're talking about businesses, is we plan on doing our Etsy store, which will have our merch on there eventually. And eventually we'll have our own website with our merch and these products as well. But right now our Etsy store is our home of our products and our merch. And so if you want to get one of these for Halloween, we have this rainbow colored one, we have a red one, and then we have a slime green one as well. So
very cutesy.
Yeah. But that's another thing why we are getting so much more serious about the finances, is because we are pushing forward and to be taking this more seriously. We, like I said, we hire an editor that helps with clips now. I have, we're doing the 3D printing stuff. We bought, memberships to get files, and so I could edit them and would sell them legally and stuff like that. And the next step is to get the Etsy store up and running. And
I've seen engagement rings in his cart too. So
what? We don't no engagement rings in my carts. Why would you buy an engagement ring from Etsy?
Oh my God, it was a joke.
Can you buy an engagement ring from Etsy?
You probably could. That's not where you're going to buy it, though.
Or am I? But
he went to Jared.
Jared on Etsy.
He went to Etsy.
No, the guy named Jared.
Oh.
There's a guy named Jared on Etsy that sells jewelry.
Oh, really?
No, I just made that up. But that's like,
if so annoying.
Like, oh, he went to Jared. Oh yeah, Jared Johnson, who on Etsy.
It's a little commercial.
Yeah.
Anyway, you want to go to the first question?
Yeah.
First question, and we might backtrack. We'll skip if we do from talking. Do we need to plan for financial emergencies together?
Yes.
Financial emergencies. I don't think we did that.
Yeah, emergency fund. That's
Yeah.
what emergency fund.
Duh. What was your flip? So obviously, yes. First question's an absolute yes.
Yes.
If you're at the stage in your life where,
because emergencies can be your car wheel breaking off, like it happened already.
Yeah.
Which we did not have an emergency fund when that first happened.
that was so much fun.
But then it also could be sickness related. Like if one of us has the doctors, the dog gets sick, and so having that emergency fund is crucial, not only for your personal finances, but your, finances for your relationship finance, which is personal. But like I said, I feel like there's kind of 3 categories in our finances. There's our personals, our relationship, and then our business, which our business one we need is the next step of taking, a little more serious once we start getting sales.
Good answer. Snaps. Second question, how do we decide how much financial support to give to our families, friends, and should there be limits? Friends.
So I feel like this is more of a question for you, because you've had to deal with this.
Yeah, so friends, you don't give money to friends unless it's like unless you're going out to eat and you're swapping and all that good stuff. You're not giving your friend a loan. Money does not
I have a rule about this, which is really quick, that I've always had a rule about giving money away, and in gambling too, because I feel like loaning money is a gamble. Like, don't give money that you're not okay with never seeing again. Like that's my rule. If you're gonna loan money to friends, family, like that money, just think of it as you're never gonna see that money again, and only give that amount of money that you're okay with never seeing again. Because then if they aren't good on their end, you're not gonna hate them. You'd hate to think you're giving money to your brother or your sister and you're helping them, but you're like, it's good. Okay, they're gonna pay me back, but then they never do. And then you're always going to hold that animosity against them. So only give what you can lose.
I mean, you basically just said my situation too, just in a better form. So let's go to the next question.
Maybe I'm learning from you.
Who should take the lead in managing our finances and why? Should one person handle the bills, or do we split responsibility? Obviously, we're splitting.
Yeah, I feel like it's splitting, but nowadays it's like all automated, so it's just like...
And just like, I just have something to say about the girls that... blah 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 on the internet. There's so many women on the internet that claim that they don't take a man if they don't pay for everything all at once. I've had that. I've gotten nothing. I get nothing from that. Like, I don't get any satisfaction of being with the man that pays for everything. It's fun for a while, and then it's like, what if this ends in a day? Like, I'm always thinking in the back of my head that this is gonna end all the time, even with this. And it's not the fact that, like,
I guess it's like hope for the best, plan for the worst.
Yeah, you're hoping for the best, planning for the worst. So, like, there was even a time in Jacksonville where you're offered to pay for everything when I wanted to quit one of the jobs I had, and it was like, yo, that's not happening right now. Like, it's not going on.
Yeah.
So, like, people on the internet, they're telling you need a man, pay for everything, pay for your car, pay for your gas. That is trash. Mm-hmm. Get it for yourself, and then combine later nice gifts, all this stuff, but you don't wait around for a man to come and pay for everything himself. Like, that, in my mind, it's so cuckoo that people nowadays get on the internet and say that that's the only man that they go after or will qualify. It's cuckoo. It's kind of weird, honestly.
I feel like people who think like that just have a broke mindset. Like the people that don't plan on being wealthy or building wealth for themselves. Like people who like think that someone's ever going to always pay for their stuff, have a man pay for all their stuff. I feel like they just have a broke mindset.
Well, it's not even about being a stay-at-home mom, because I want to do that. But it's in general of just having that mindset and claiming that, because then you're going to be blocking a lot of people out of your entryway. Like, get it together.
Well, your stay-at-home mindset's going to be different then. It's not like, people think of you staying at home and just like taking care of kids, which that's what you're going to do, but you'll still do video stuff, still create content, still do training stuff. Like you'll have like businesses and whatnot. So it's like your stay at home is not the same as like, probably like
stay home, go shop.
Yeah, go and stuff like that. Because you have a lot of dreams and whatnot. And
so another
goals.
one. What's our financial breaking point? How much debt or financial stress is too much before it affects our relationship? We almost hit no. So I would probably say, what's our financial breaking point? How much debt or financial stress is too much before it affects our relationship? So I feel like ours happened.
Any debt, I feel like it's not. I feel like it's not even an amount. I feel like any amount of debt that's shared is going to affect your relationship.
There's you either rock it out, notice that it's affecting your relationship, make a plan, get it done, or you let it take over your relationship like a cancer, because it's going to do that. There's always stress arguments that happened when we were in debt. When we first moved here, there's a lot of arguments that come around money and debt, and then you don't even look at this person in the eyes when you're fighting about it and see that you love them. All you're thinking about is like bad stuff all the time. Can't even enjoy a meal without thinking about the worst, or this could go to the debt savings.
That's another thing. Is like I had my business, and I had like, so we like you at the time moving here, you didn't have a job. I had my business, so I was also kind of paying for a lot more things, and then I had a business card, so then I would, instead of what I would normally do is pay for a lot of my things out of my personal account, I was like, you know what, I'll write this off as a business expense, and next thing we know, my business card has a lot more monthly payments on it than originally planned. And that's kind of where I feel like the first kind of realization of like, we need to kind of take this like couple financials things serious, because we racked up a lot of, I wouldn't say a lot, it was like $10,000. But a lot of that $10,000 was because of business expenses on top of living expenses that were going on the business. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like being clear about those things, and then I don't think it's an amount of money that's gonna make you less stress or affect your relationship. It's about how it's gonna affect your relationship. Because honestly, if you have any sort of debt, it should affect you. Like you should be wanting it. You should have the mindset of we need to get rid of this, and that's always the mindset we had. It's just things didn't line up. Like when we were moving, like I said, when we first moved, you didn't have a job. I was the only form, like my business was the only form of payment. So we had to kind of go into debt just to get things up and running here. And then we just kind of chipped away at it over like a 6 to 8 month period. Is that right?
And I think you'll know once problems start arising, you'll know if the relationship's worth it or not. There'll be times where you can easily just be like, all right, I'm done. Paying for yourself is so much easier in all aspects than paying for you and your boyfriend and your 2 dogs in the house you live in a random freaking town. That is so much easier. Being alone is so much easier. Yeah. So it's going to be a time in your life where you're like, okay, this is worth it for this person. And then you're like, let's see what happens. But the only bad thing you could do is not talk about it, not think about it, not speak about it, because they can't just be sitting in the back of your head. They can't just be... Yeah. Finances can't just be, something that's over your head and you're not looking at it, thinking about it. Yeah. You got to tackle things head on and you got to think about it. So that's kind of why we're doing this, to share it, to talk about it, to make it normal.
Well, it's also like kind of going back and like how I think this would also help people who own businesses is I always, until probably about a year ago, until we started really, I would say moving here, change this, but I always put a lot of my business's profits back into the business, like a lot of it. So that's why I was able to take out loans and pay the interest off. I would always take out loans, pay the interest off, so that way I could do a little more things, buy more equipment for my business, because we did video production. I wouldn't say loans, but finance equipment and stuff like that. And then once we moved here, I lost some. It like happened all at once. Like I had, I was getting equipment, and then at the same time we were moved. Like I lost some clients, and then we were moved, and then it was just like all these things happening at once. And then of course, like moving, I naturally don't need to find a job because I work for myself. But then you didn't have a job when we get here, so it's like a bunch of things. Things can snowball quickly, and that's kind of what happened. But the reason why I brought this up is, like, if you're a business owner and you invest a lot of money back into your business, and then you have a significant other who then you are, maybe moving in with and whatnot, you need to pay yourself more and realize, like, oh, okay, I need to actually pay myself more because I'm about to, start sharing things with this other person, whether it's, getting a dog, living, I feel like with someone, like, the car expenses goes up because more people are using the car because we're sharing the car. So, the tires are going to go out. Like when I was just myself and I worked from home, I'd maybe only put like 10,000 miles on my car a year. But now we put on 15,000, 20,000.
I had a car, I just sold it.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying, your car was a gas guzzler, so you ended up using my car because driving to the gym, it was like $30-$40 round trip for you to get to the gym job. So yeah, I feel like if you're owning a business and then you're kind of moving in your finances with someone, you need to adjust how much you pay yourself, because naturally things might go up because you're moving in with someone in the beginning once you start, because you need to first iron out those things, in which we were kind of doing those while the plane was taking off,
And if you're, to get on a personal note, if you're anything like me and you come from a poor family, I started paying rent for my family when I was young. The year I started making money, I was blowing it like crazy. Not on anything but necessities, siblings, mother, rent, all that stuff. And the only thing, in the moment, it feels like you're helping and you feel like that's your family. This is all you can do, ride or die. But it is not helping you. If you cannot, I just came to a place where I was like, this, even before Weston and after Weston, it was a little bit more, honestly, before I came to a place where it was like, if I keep doing this, I will have nothing to show for it. And I honestly have nothing to show for those 2 years of my life. The 2 years I made probably the most money I've ever made. There's nothing to show for it because I was doing all of these things, and the emotional toll that the financial sibling takes in a family, no matter where that line is, how expensive or how low the money is insane. And no one deserves to have that feeling of, if I don't do this, this will make you feel this way. If I don't do this, you'll be angry or you won't love me or blah, blah, blah. You are your own person. And giving away your finances to help a family member is never a good idea. If I could go back, I probably wouldn't change anything because I would never know. Because now even I do face guilt, and it's not easy to say no. Once you start saying yes and it's casual, it's not easy to say no. Oh, a $5, oh, a $500, oh, I need 1,000. Back to back to back sporadically is never a good idea. It's not easy to say no. So if you're ever in a space, or if you're in a space now and you're watching this and you are funding someone else for any given reason that's not a significant other, you can't do it. It's a hard slap in the face. It's honestly something that you probably won't know how it feels unless it happens to you, because then, for example, I don't speak to my brother anymore. We had a lot of money going through that relationship, and now we don't talk as much anymore. And now it's like, oh, for me, it's like, okay, does he not recognize what I did the whole time? You know what I mean?
Well,
so
I don't think
there's guilt.
You didn't really explain that a little. You skipped over the part where you would give your brother money because he.
I thought I said that.
No, you kind of like, you breezed over it quickly.
Oh, well.
So I guess maybe that kind of goes into the one question you asked, like about dealing with, giving money to family and stuff like that. It's like I feel like that you're used to doing that growing up because, like you just said, you paid for your mother's rents and your family's stuff. But that's one thing that I harped on you a lot in the beginning when we first dated, of not doing that. Which I kind of felt bad for doing that in the beginning, but
it's honestly, once I was young, so once I grew up, it was kind of like you cannot pour from a half-filled cup. Your cup needs to be full, overflowing in order to give somebody something, and even then, you got to think about it. But there's a lot of lessons.
I remember like you would get like a random Cash App request from someone in your family, and then you would pay it, and then you would tell me like, oh, I just gave blah 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 $20. I was like, what? Why? Like, they don't have why are you giving them $20? And it's just those type. That's like was common.
Speaking of that, the dynamic that you have to. There's a bunch of dynamics in relationships too. This could be there's a bunch of dynamics. So for someone to sit there that you love and say just a straight no, or like he just said, why would you do that? There's no reason to do that. He is not in my family. He will never know my immediate family struggles, drama, never know anything. But
not firsthand.
He would never know that feeling. So I can't make decisions off of and be angry off of what I feel. There's truth in what you feel. You know what I mean? There's facts in what you feel. The fact is, I should not be doing it. My emotions are like, dang, I feel bad. But it's not like you cannot listen to your emotions when you're dealing with money. The fact is, if I stop doing this, I will have more money. And that's it. And it's not like I am freaking snowballing.
Didn't you look through your Cash App and like...
That's a sad day. Well, if you want to stop giving money to siblings, parents, or whatever situation you're in, look how much you gave. And look how much. No.
Come on,
and look how much you're.
And it's just for everyone, so it's not to one individual person. It's for just overall.
I would say above. Won't psych you out. Above 10 grand.
Exactly.
Add it up. That could be anywhere. That could be in this wealth
Yeah, that could be earning 5% interest on there. That's like $500 a month.
But I will laugh, but I won't say it lightly, that it is a very hard thing to be okay with and to not guilt yourself over, especially if you are in a different situation than your siblings and your family. That is not a reason to just do something lower or think lower of yourself or scoop to that level. And it's not a reason to beat yourself up about it, because I do it sometimes, but to each their own, and you are your own person. And at some point you're going to be an adult, and there's things that you have to figure out by yourself. So once I grew up, I knew that, and it's all about growing up. I feel like make mistakes when you're younger, and that's the good thing about this podcast. We'll share our mistakes. That was a big mistake that I made. But a lot of eye-openers came through that mistake, and they always will. Mistakes are what opens your eyes if you listen and take the time to look. So that's what all this podcasting is about. But stop giving your family money. Don't ever do it.
No, well, yeah. Like I said, going back to what I said earlier, only give money that you're willing to lose. And then also, I would prefer, instead of giving money, give opportunity. And so if they need food, give them, Instacart them or Uber Eats them a meal instead of paying them $20. Or, hey, you're looking for a job, send me over your resume, I'll clean it up for you, or I'll pay for a professional resume writer for you, and then I'll help you apply to jobs. I would prefer you to give opportunity than money. Anyone at home. Over directly, because like you said, you give them $20. Okay, you gave them $20. They spent maybe 10 or 15 on a meal, and then they have that extra $4 or $5, and then they throw that towards weed. Like, okay, even though it's only $4 or $5, but like still, that if you're asking for people for money, you don't have anything in your budget for drugs or alcohol. Like, none of it should go towards that. So so I think this is a good place to end.
Yeah,
In the
I'll
sense.
say